Welcome guys, welcome. You should try this class. DPS Valkyrie is really fun, and I can feel that they put a lot of effort to make a new class look new. Her rotation and skill structure is very up to date. They mixed a lot of good stuff from other classes to her kit. Her synergy is 8% damage upon crit, like Paladin. She is non-positional. There are some skills that are back attack, but you can turn it into free position with bonus damage, just like Gunslinger's shotgun skills. She has OK destruction with OK stagger. She's very good at counter. She has 2 counter skills which has short cooldown in her actual build. The best part is definitely the Excalibur. There are 3 groups of skills. White skills are utility or sub DPS skills. Yellow skills are supporting skills for the support build. And red is the main DPS skills, including the T skill as well. Whenever you use any skills, it builds up the meter. And when you use it for 15 times, then it gets maxed. There's no meter gain difference between the skills for DPS build. You just have to use any skills 15 times. This doesn't count to the support build since the gauge works differently. For the support build, the meter gain does have difference between the skills, and some of them even have tripods that increases the gain, like this kind of tripod. When the identity is maxed, you can press X key to use Excalibur. This consumes all the gauge, and Z can be activated. When you click Z, it applies party synergy to the boss and enhances the next 3 red skills damage by 35%, including the T skill. You can also see how many enhancements are left above your HP or by looking next to your character. There is no time limit for this damage buff, so you will not lose the damage buff unless you use all 3 red skills. So in short, you build meter with white skills, the utility or sub DPS skills, and let's say that it's filled up. Then use the X skill, which is called the Excalibur. Then use the Z to enhance the next 3 red skill and burst all these red skills. So the playstyle feels like Full Moon Harvest Soul Eater with Surge. X skill is the strongest skill, and the DPS proportion is over 50%. And the next strongest is the red skills, and then other sub DPS skills. She also resembles Sura Breaker, because you can build a meter by using the skill on the air like this. It doesn't have to land on the boss. Not only that, her damage scales on her crit rate from this 3rd Enlightenment. For each 1% crit rate, her outgoing damage in general increases by 0.55%. Additionally, her X skill's damage increases by 1.5%. So if it reaches 100% crit rate, her outgoing damage is 55% on all skills, and her X skills exclusively 150%. One thing that's important to know is that the party crit synergy doesn't matter. That is a debuff on the boss, reducing the crit resistance. It does not increase your own crit rate, so when you make a party or build, you want to reach 100% crit rate on your Valkyrie, and you do not want crit synergy in your party. This time, let's check the engravings. Grudge, Adrenaline, Raid Captain, Keen Blunt are fixed. For the last 5th engraving, you pick 1 out of 4. Cursed Doll, Hitmaster, Stabilized Status, or Mass Increase. For the last engraving, I would recommend you to go for the one that covers most of your roster. The reason why Raid Captain is a fixed engraving for DPS Valkyrie is because in her actual build, she has 3 skills that gives her 30% movement speed. This one, and this one. If you check her stat, she runs Swiftness as a substat. So she already has 10% movement speed, and you get that 30%, which adds up to 140, the cap. So Raid Captain is must-have engraving. For the stats, crit must be 100%. So you go full crit on the first line, and sub Swift. For the second line, you run Keen Sense and either Boundless Mana or Limit Break. For the third line, 1 Unlimited Magic and 1 Zealous Smite. And for the last one, Standing Striker is the meta. Depending on your Adrenaline engraving book, whether it's Relic or Legendary, you adjust the crit rate by removing the Keen Sense. For the elixirs, you go critical set, not the master. For the pants, crit damage. The reason is because it is easy to reach 100% crit rate without the master set, and you do not have to run Blunt Thorn. From the research, Blunt Thorn does similar damage output compared to Standing Striker. Then there's zero reason to go for a Blunt Thorn, because imagine if the X skill doesn't crit by 20%. That would be devastating, right? And because her X skill damage proportion is over 50%, that is why Blunt Thorn doesn't increase the overall damage like that much. Alright, Enlightenment. So you go all the way here, and for the fourth node, if you don't have this tripod, then what happens is that it only enhances one red skill, which is why you must need this fourth main node. For the side node, this one increases the animation of the red skills if you use it consecutively. This one actually increases more damage than this because this increases the damage of the X skill. So you can either click 1 point here for animation speed and put rest of them here, or you don't have to go for this one and just invest it here. For the leap, you go 5, 4, 2. And for the second tripod, you go for this one, which increases a lot of damage on the T skill, but it makes into a perfect zone skill. So if you have this and you click T skill, then it goes like that. And you have to click again for additional attack. It's not like you're holding the skill. You click it once, then the bar goes like that, and you click another time when it's in the zone. Okay, this time let me cover the skills. There are 4 different builds on DPS Valkyrie. All the builds run 7 common skills like this. Even though they are in Korean, you can see the image of the skill and the image of the tripod, also the number of the tripod. I wrote down which gems and runes you use on each of the rows, and you can check which gives the 30% movement speed, which are the party synergy skill, and which are counter skills as well. And for the last skill, you pick 1 out of these 4, so it becomes 4 different builds. The first skill is a DPS skill. By having this, you do the most amount of damage, but by a little bit compared to other 3 builds. And for the gems, you take out the gem from this skill right here on the top. You take out the damage gem from here, and you move it to here. For the rune, Galewind. The speed is with the Galewind, by the way. The second one is a movement skill. It's not a DPS skill. Even though it's a red skill, it's a movement. For the rune, Bleed Rune. It's a combo skill, so use 1 time and 2 times like that. It does move a lot of distance, as you see. So it's very good for survivability. It also has short cooldown. It's less than 10 seconds. The third one is a white skill. By running this, you're running only 2 red skills. Don't get confused, this one is not a red skill, only these 2. Even though the Z enhances 3 red skills, you only enhance 2 if the T skill is in cooldown and you just move on. So it does less damage compared to this first build, but as I told you, by a little bit. For the rune, you run Bleed Rune. It has very short animation. And the cooldown is like 12 seconds. Last one is also a white skill. This one is a stackable skill. So you can use it more than any other skill, which results into building faster meter. For the rune, Bleed Rune. The cooldown is only 8 seconds, and you can use it 2 times. The downside of this skill is that the animation is pretty long. So TLDR, the best build is whatever fits the most for you. For the Awakening, supporters use this first Awakening since it gives a meter to them. But for the DPS build, it does not give the meter, even if you use it. So instead, what you run is the second Awakening, which does a lot of damage. Gem priority. For the DPS gems, X is obviously the first priority. into the 2 red skills. This one is stronger than this one. And then others. For the cooldown, these 2 skills, which are counter skills that has a very short cooldown, you want to prioritize on both of them into others. All right, rotation. Let me cover 2 out of those 4 builds as an example. So first one is the 3 red DPS build that has 3 of these skills. So TLDR, you use the skills that are not DPS skill. And then if you click Z, then that's 5th adrenaline, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adrenaline. And then if you click Excalibur, then that's 6 adrenaline into big damage. After you activate the Z, you don't use the T or other red skills right away. The cooldown of these 2 skills will be back because they are so short. You use it again. The reason is because you can still build the meter even if you're in the Z mode. So you want to use these 2 beforehand so that you can build the meter for the next Excalibur faster. And then you go T into these other 2 red skill. And this one, just use it raw and use rest of the skills and repeat. If you're using this movement skill instead of this DPS skill, then you can just use it anytime for gauge or anytime to dodge other, patterns. You're gonna use stimulant, and if you do, then both Z and X will be activated. You stack the adrenaline stack by using W, Q, W, E, Z, and then X. That's 6 adrenaline stack. Into W and Q again, and now the DPS skills like this, in this sequence. And keep on using the skills like this. Short cooldowns first. Short cooldown skills first. And then one more skill. X. Keep on using the skill. And the Z, Q, W, get the meter, and then use the other skill like that. You do not have to hurry on using the red skills, as I've been keep telling you, because it's not like Punisher Slayer. It doesn't have any limit for using the skills. You have infinite time to use the red skills. Next one is 2 red build, which is this skill or this skill. Just like the previous 3 red build rotation, just use all the short cooldown skills and then Z into X and use these 2 skills again, T into other 2 red skill and repeat. So later, you're not gonna have T, so you just enhance 2 red skills and move on. So if I give you an example of this skill, so use stimulant and have Z and X both on, W, Q, W, E, and then Z into X, that's 6 adrenaline stack. Into Q, W, now the red DPS skills. T, D, and F. And then keep on using the skills, short cooldowns first, like that. And then when it reaches full, X. And when the cooldown of the red skills starts to come back, then use Z. Now, use the Q, D, F, and just use other skills, doesn't matter. And I have 1 enhancement stack left, right? Because I was only 2 skill, but it doesn't matter. You just keep on going like this, and then when it reaches max, just X. Then it will reactivate the Z, and what happens if you reactivate Z is that you can use 3 of the red skills as an enhancement like that. For the timing to use the normal awakening, since this awakening does DPS but nothing else, you just have to use it in atropine timing. Lastly, let me cover the Chaos Dungeon build. So Engraving, obviously, you go for Preemptive Strike and Contender. The problem with the Preemptive Strike is that it doesn't apply on the boss grade in the Chaos Dungeon. So in order to one-shot those bosses, rather than going full swiftness, you kinda divide into crit, since crit scales with the damage for the DPS Valkyrie. And others, you go for cooldown related stuff. And for the skill, you just run this single skill. For the gems, DPS and cooldown gem with protection or Gale Rune. Let me show you the video of Chaos Dungeon. That's all for this video. If you guys like the video, then click the like button, subscribe, come to Twitch, and spank my ass. Stay Giga Chat, spam noted.